All right, let's talk Week 12. You know, this is the point in the NFL season where things are supposed to start making sense, right? Where the contenders separate from the pretenders. Well, not this year. It's been thrown into absolute chaos, and we're going to break down exactly why.
So you got to wonder what actually happens when your star quarterbacks start dropping like flies. And on top of that, a massive winter storm decides to just become a factor in multiple games. What does that really do to what we expect to see on Sunday?
Will you get this? The most volatile week of the season. I mean, you can basically take all your predictions, all your spreadsheets, and just toss them right out the window. Every single game feels like a total coin flip.
So, to try and make some sense of this whole mess, we're going to look at what we're calling the variance vector. It's really just three big forces that are completely warping the landscape of Week 12.
Okay, so here they are. First, the quarterback attrition matrix, which is just a fancy way of saying a ton of starting QBs are hurt. Then you have the Midwest weather vortex with snow and wind just rewriting game plans in real time. And finally, some just bizarre statistical anomalies where teams like the Colts and Titans are doing things nobody saw coming. This week, it's not about talent on paper, it's about who can handle the chaos. So let's dive into that first one, the QB situation. And there's really no better place to start than Thursday Night Football. You got the Bills visiting a Texans team that is facing a serious problem at the most important position on the field. And look, this isn't just a hunch. You can see it plain as day in the numbers. Going from C.J. Stroud to Davis Mills is, well, a quantifiable catastrophe. The Texans are projected to lose 1/4 point in value every single time Mills drops back to pass. That is a massive drop-off. Their entire playbook just shrinks overnight.
So if you're the Bills, how do you attack Houston's pass defense still really good? Well, you pivot. You go after their weakness. See, the Texans play with these light defensive boxes to stop the deep pass, which means they can be vulnerable to the run. So the number to watch in this game isn't Josh Allen's passing yards, it's his rushing yards. If he gets over 45 on the ground, that's a huge tell that Buffalo has cracked the code.
Okay, so we've covered the QB crisis indoors in Houston. Now let's head outside. Way outside. A huge winter storm is slamming the Midwest, and it's turning a couple of key games into absolute slugfests. First up, we've got Steelers at Bears. And just look at these conditions. Snow, winds gusting over 25 miles per hour. Yeah, this is not going to be a pretty high-flying game. This is old-school smash-mouth football fought in the trenches. And on one side, you have the Bears, who are actually pretty efficient running the ball. On the other, the Steelers have Aaron Rodgers playing with a fractured wrist on his non-throwing hand. You have to wonder if he can even grip the football in this weather.
And you know what? The history here is just crystal clear. When you get this exact scenario, snow and winds over 20 miles per hour, forget about the quarterbacks. The team that runs the ball better wins almost 80% of the time. That is a massive advantage for Chicago's ground game. And it's pretty much the same story, just one state over in Green Bay. The Vikings and Packers are also dealing with that nasty wind. Now, the Aaron Jones revenge game narrative is fun, sure, but the real story here is the huge efficiency gap between Jordan Love, who's been great, and the rookie J.J. McCarthy making his first start at Lambeau. In a windstorm, talk about a tough first day at the office.
All right, let's get out of the snow and head indoors. We're moving on to the games where coaching and scheme are really going to take center stage. And we're going to start with maybe the single biggest statistical surprise of the entire season.
No, you are not reading that wrong. If I came to you back in August and said, hey, guess what? In Week 12, the Indianapolis Colts are going to have the #1 most efficient offense in the entire NFL, you'd have laughed me out of the room. But here we are. That is the reality as they get ready to walk into Arrowhead. And that's what makes this game so fascinating. It's this amazing clash. On one side, you have the cold, hard numbers of this season, which say the Colts are the better offense right now. And on the other, you have the championship pedigree of Patrick Mahomes and a desperate Chiefs team at home. So what wins? The current stats or the historic legacy?
Now, speaking of smart offenses, let's look at the Rams. They are winning games with pure strategy. It's like they found a cheat code using what's called 13 personnel. They put 3 tight ends on the field, right? So the defense has to respond by putting their bigger, slower linebackers in the game. But then, bam, the Rams use play action, and suddenly their speedy receivers are matched up against those slow linebackers. It's a huge mismatch, and it's why they have the #2 offense in the league.
But hey, let's be real. Not every game this week is a 4D chess match.
Some of these matchups are just lopsided. They're brutal mismatches that really show you the gap between the league's haves and have-nots. Just look at this number, -0.246. That's the Tennessee Titans' expected points added per play. It is dead last in the NFL. I mean, dead last by a mile. And now they have to go up against the Seattle Seahawks, who just happen to have the #1 ranked defense. Oh, and the Titans are starting a rookie quarterback and their best receiver is out. Yikes, that is the very definition of a statistical mismatch. So, after going through all these different scenarios, the injuries, the wild weather, the coaching battles, what does it all mean? What's the one big takeaway from this completely chaotic Week 12? Well, this chart helps put some real numbers to the chaos because we have to remember, not all backup quarterbacks are created equal. You've got your stabilizers, guys like Mason Rudolph who can come in and just steady the ship. Then you've got the high variance players, like a rookie Shadir Sanders, who could be incredible or could be a disaster. And then you've got the liabilities, guys like Davis Mills, who statistically just crater an offense. Knowing which one a team is dealing with is everything.
And it all really boils down to this one word: adaptability. The teams that are going to win this week aren't the ones with the most talent on paper. They're the ones who can adapt. The Bears are built to win in a snowstorm with their run game. The Rams are scheming up new advantages. The Colts have built a system that can somehow survive losing their starting quarterback. It's all about who can roll with the punches. Which kind of leaves us with this one last thought to chew on. We spend so much time obsessing over QB ratings and defensive stats, but in a league that's getting more and more chaotic every year, with injuries and crazy variables, maybe the most valuable stat of all isn't something you can even find on a spreadsheet. Maybe, just maybe, it's a team's simple ability to adapt.